What a week is going to come to an end. Really a lot happened. I mean, we still have this horrible situation in Israel. The Ukraine war is carrying on. There's a lot of tension still between China and the United States. And the Bitcoin went crazy this week, over $35,000, due to rumors about the spot ETF. Well, a lot to talk about today. Before we do this, we check the overall market. And like always, we start with a heat map from the S&P 500. Mainly red today, except Microsoft green. Everything else is really red. Google 9%, Nvidia 4%, Amazon 5%. Well, not good. The reason is underneath. US bonds, 5% on 2 years, 4.9% on 10 years. The 20 years and the 30-year bonds are over 5%. It's a total sell-off on the bond market. Really bad. We quickly check the gold BTE 83, Brent 88. So everybody was sort of scared about the Middle East crisis, that the oil price could go crazy. This is not taking place. Last night, Far East was quite strong. Hang Seng and Nikkei and Shanghai Composite, all in the green. That's good. Correlation between the gold price and US dollar index. Something taking place here which happens very seldom. Usually this is inverse, vice versa, but not now. Gold price is going up and at the same time the dollar index is going up. So a lot of fear in the market. We will just now have a look to the sentiment. Before we do this, we check the rate hike expectations, because we all know rate hikes are absolutely important for the overall market and in a way also for Bitcoin. So this is for November 1st, 100% of the market believes no increase in rates. We quickly check the next meeting, and here's pretty much the same picture. 80% believes we don't see an increase. That's good. So we quickly check the fear and greed from CNN. 29, deep in the fear zone. Reason very simple. S&P 500 under the 200 days. Stock price strength really very negative. The same with the pref. Put call ratios or options. Everybody's short. Let's put it this way. Market volatility over 20%. So here's the time to check what is the Bitcoin doing. Still stable over 34,093. This is on a 4-hourly base, and we are going sideways now. We later will check what the data is regarding this is, and we come to the market capitalization, and this is in the moment a change. We are now on 11, gold is on 1, with 665 billion. All right, so here we check something today, long-term evolution of a Bitcoin on a monthly base. Why do we do this? As you can see here, we had this lowest point with about 15.5. This is on a monthly base. And what happened now, and this is very important, there was a strong resistance line here, the blue line, on $32,000, and we just jumped ahead. This is very, very bullish. And the next resistance line is now around about $45,000. So this is the range we have to make up until to the end of the halving. Okay, so next thing is the Bitcoin halving clock. Slight change. It's now going to take place April 13. And now we come to a very nice interview related to what happened this week with a spot ETF. We listened to a member of the SEC, it's an interview, and it's quite interesting to get some inside information what's going on there.
Spoken critic of some of her own agency's initiatives to join us to talk about crypto regulation, debates over ESG, and so much more. SEC Commissioner Hester Peirce. She is one of 2 Republicans among the 5 SEC commissioners. Good morning to you. Love to get your sense of where you think the state of some of these regulations around crypto really stand right now. There's been so much speculation, even in the past several weeks, about where a Bitcoin ETF might land. There was a moment, as you I'm sure recall, where a report came out erroneously, apparently, that one would be approved. That would be the BlackRock one. But a view that, given some of the things that have happened in court recently with the SEC losing, that maybe the SEC is now more open to approving one of these types of funds. Is it?
Well, good morning, Andrew. And I can't say whether or not the commission is ready to approve a Bitcoin exchange traded product. I've been thinking we should approve one for the last 5 years. So that the logic for why we haven't has always mystified me. The court case obviously is an important factor in the landscape, but I can't guess as to my colleagues' approach to this topic.
But the reason I ask is there's a sort of a speculative fever taking place throughout Wall Street and other parts of the crypto world that believe that given those court results or those losses, if you will, or specifically that one loss, that it would change the thinking of the other commissioners at the SEC. You spend time with them, you talk to them. Do you see any shift in terms of that type of thinking, just even generally speaking?
I really can't speak to what we're going to do on the Bitcoin exchange traded products. I can say that generally the agency has not been very good when it comes to anything related to Bitcoin or other crypto assets. And look, I hope that every day I hope that they'll wake up and they'll think, you know what, we need to take a more productive approach. That hasn't happened yet, but I'm of course hoping that it will.
But I guess the question is, should the public take anything away from the fact that a BlackRock or a Fidelity or somebody of that size?
So I think this short interview, or part of this short interview, shows what the problem is within the SEC. It's a political problem. I mean, the SEC has 5 members, and there are 2 Republicans. She is one of the 2, and there are 3 from the Democrats. And the Democrats, they are not interested in Bitcoin, and they don't want this. And it was interesting what she said, but she said for 5 years she thought it should be approved. And she hopes that they wake up. This is what she said. So like a sort of wake-up call. Anyway, another thing which is very important, what she mentioned is, and this is absolutely true, they lost the court case regarding the application from Grayscale to change their trust into a spot ETF. And they didn't appeal against it. So this decision is in power from a legal point of stand. And so it's very, very interesting to see what the SEC is not going to do, because in the end, the United States is a legal system. And if a court case is in power, I mean, a decision is in power, obviously, they have to do what is decided. Okay, so anyway, what we are going to look now is into our data. And we start with our spot ETF approval timeline, which relates to what I just said, and there is no change. In January 10, has to be a decision made regarding the ARC application, and all the other big guys are going to follow in March. So it's still the same situation. So there are basically 2 possibilities. Either they decide before in 23, or in the latest in January 24. And I think a lot of people anticipate this, and this is why the price stays over $34,000. Okay, now let's go into the data. First of all, we have here the overall crypto fear and greed index. And underneath you see our own. The difference is the first one is all the cryptos, and the second one is based on our own data, which is just related to Bitcoin. Interesting is to see 70% and 71. So it's very similar. Very nice to see. Well, one thing we have to look here is the relation between NASDAQ, the last graph, and the Bitcoin. And this is very interesting. For a long time, the Bitcoin was more or less following the NASDAQ. And this has changed now. As you can see, the green line is going up. This is close to $35,000. And the NASDAQ is in trouble. So this correlation is more or less over. Heat map from the cryptocurrency all in all is red. Not a good day. On the other hand, the domination is going up 54%. So Bitcoin is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And now we come to the open interest. In the moment, about $15 billion. And number one is Binance, then the CME, Bybit, OKX, and Deribit. And it's going up. This is the speculation. Well, on prices may be going up. On the other hand side, we see the liquidations. And here what we can see is we had a lot of liquidations, mainly on the short side. People have been stopped out. On the other hand side, long-short ratio, most of the participants are still on the short side. Very dangerous, because if there are news coming in, positive news, they could be shorted out again. The spot, 49 million wallets, quite stable, going sideways. Balance on exchanges, only 2.3 million Bitcoin in the moment are on exchanges. The lowest rate ever since the Bitcoin is in the market. So most of the people keep Bitcoin in cold wallets or are not interested to sell. This is very, very bullish for the Bitcoin price, because if the fantasy carries on regarding ETFs and people start to buy, there are not enough Bitcoins in the market. And hash rate is another thing. We are close to 500 million extra hashes. At the same time, the price is going up. So competition between the miners is getting harder and harder, and here we see the production costs for the miners. And this went slightly up to $17,000. And at this point, it's quite interesting to check our miner index. How do the miner do? This is related to their share price. And in the present cycle, on the top, you can see that the miners made about 700%. While the Bitcoin made 297%. So this is a leverage of about 2.35. So we are still doing much better than the Bitcoin price. The next thing which is very interesting to see today is the Google Trends, because it's really going up, meaning more and more people search for Bitcoin information. And this is usually very bullish, because this is important to get a new bull run. We also see that the aggregated trade volume is going up. We have been a little bit in the yellow zone. It's still too low, but it looks like volume is going up, and that's very good. Okay, now we come to the momentum indicators. And we first of all start on a monthly base. And this is really good, because we see that we had this golden cross on the MACD here, bullish crossover from the downside to the upside. And you see this green bar. This doesn't happen very often. When you go here back to history, you can see it. So maybe the new bull run started. Interesting is the RSI, it's only on 55, so we are not in an overbought market. That's very good. We see the same thing on a daily base. We really have a long-term trend, uptrend, and it looks really nice. So Bollinger Bands get wider and wider. Interesting is also the RSI. We are now with 83, certainly on a daily base, overbought, but it's a long trend. It's a very strong momentum taking place. On the other hand, our short-term indicator says, yes, there is a risk that we have a consolidation with about $32,000. And now the next is our projection model for the halving. And it was very nice. I mean, we are now $1,700 overrated. So the price is better than our model. Model price says for the halving around about $41,000. Second model, more or less the same. Interesting is now Wyckoff. For quite a while, it was quite boring to look in it, but now it makes sense because phase A, B, C, and D is finished, and we are very close to get into phase E. In order to get into phase E, according to the Wyckoff theory, is that we get more volume, and this model says price could go for the halving to $45,000. Also very nice to see is Fibonacci. We went from the 50% via the 61.8, which is the golden pocket, straight to the 76.4. Looks very nice, and obviously we stay in here. Another very bullish thing is we had last night a golden cross from the 50 days via the 200 days. This is something which doesn't happen very often as well, and this is very, very bullish because this is a long-term trend indicator. The same with the ribbons, and here we see that all the ribbons, the EMA is going up, and our wait and buy indicator says, well, it's probably better at this point of time to wait it a little bit for consolidation. I mean, if you're in the boat, it doesn't make sense to look into it, but if you want to accumulate more, it's better to check this indicator. Well, most important model is the regression model. Bitcoin works on the logarithm regression, and we are in the end of a 4-year cycle, and it looks pretty much to all the cycles before. So an important week comes to an end, Friday, and we are still over $34,000. Bear in mind, last week, exactly a week ago on Friday, we were playing around on 27, 28 or something like that. So I think we are now nearly 18% up in 1 week. This is very, very, very bullish. I wish you a great weekend. See you again on Tuesday in German. Thanks and bye-bye.